One of the many joys in life is honing one's craft. It's akin to that oh so familiar mountain analogy. Climbing the mountain, further refining my talents, and seeing my efforts show its worth is one of the many reasons I push on, even when life gets rough. It's one of the reasons why I love video editing so much. Nothing will beat getting better at editing, improving the quality of my videos, and seeing that effort bear fruit through the wonderful reception I get from you guys. This process of constant improvement and seeing the payoff is one many can relate to, especially those at Nintendo. The Big N is home to many franchises spanning decades of history. If you ask which series has been polished to utmost perfection over the years, some might say Mario, Kirby, Metroid, or Zelda. But for me, there's only been one. For generations, the Mario Kart team at Nintendo EPD9 has refined the series' arcade racing fun throughout multiple entries, adding new and engaging ways to play, and their efforts reflected in sales. The series' previous entry, Mario Kart 8, reflected a series high, not just in financials, but also for EPD9 as well. With 8, the team felt that they perfected the Mario Kart formula, a notion you realize when playing the game yourself. The controls are as tight as ever, the roster is the biggest it's ever been at that point, the track design is EPD9 firing on all cylinders, which is accompanied by the sheer volume of tracks on display, and a bombastic soundtrack, all wrapped in an incredible package. It's no wonder why EPD9 saw 8 as their magnum opus. With everything it had to offer, it truly was the ultimate Mario Kart experience. However, after achieving an unprecedented level of success, one question remains. Where do you go once you've reached the top? For as fantastic as 8 was, eventually people will get bored and anticipate the next new thing. It doesn't help that this was the longest release gap between entries in series history, topping off at little over 11 years since 8's release on Wii U. To say a lot was riding off this new Mario Kart would be the understatement of the century. As the sequel to the 5th best-selling game of all time, and the first brand new entry in over a decade, the pressure was on at the Japanese giant for this game to deliver. But how do you top your magnum opus? Do you play it safe, give players more of the same, add in a new gimmick and call it a day? Or do you take the riskier option? Charter down a new path in the name of a bold new creative direction.
Mario Kart World!
Mario Kart World is what you get from the latter. EPD9 could have just taken the easy road and it would have been just as successful for them. Yet they went in a different direction regardless, all in sake of their vision of a fully interconnected world. And if you only saw the glowing Metacritic score, you would think their ambitious gamble paid off. But if you take a look on any social media, it paints a completely different picture. It's safe to say World is easily the most divisive entry by a long shot, which is practically unheard of for this franchise. To no one's surprise, it all stems from that bold new direction World has taken, as it's a game that's confident in what it is and what it isn't. Yet, in spite of that, it managed to rekindle a burning passion for the series I haven't felt since I was a kid. For months, I've been stumped on why this is the game in a year of banger releases is the one that keeps on reeling me back. But I think I've finally found my answer. This is a game with so many flaws and baffling decisions that I can name off the top of my head. But it's also an exciting new take and a triumphant love letter to this entire series. This is a video about how Mario Kart World is a game like no other. First, let's talk game feel. What's game feel, you may ask? Well, it's how good doing that feels. Good game feel is what separates masterpieces like this from shit like this. Ugh. Mario Kart is a series known for its great game feel. The karts handle like a dream, drifts feel tight, and mini turbos are satisfying to pull off. It's a tradition that continues strong in Mario Kart World, and it provides a unique feel I haven't felt from the franchise in a very long time. You see, every Mario Kart prior to 2008 has felt drastically different from one another, whether that be 64's slippier controls, Double Dash's bouncy physics and looser drifts, Super Circuit controlling like dog shit, or DS's tight snaking. These unique characteristics give these games so much personality and a learning curve, as you really gotta stick with these games to truly master the controls. Something that was greatly diminished starting with Mario Kart Wii. Wii cemented the modern Mario Kart feel we've all grown accustomed to. The controls, how karts handle, how drifting works, and their presentation is far more uniform across these games. And while Wii 7 and 8 still have their unique quirks that sets them apart from one another, the margin between them pales in comparison to the entries from the classic era. It does help make these games easier to pick up and play, but it comes at the cost of their individuality. Enter Mario Kart World, the series' 9th mainline entry after over a decade, which blends the old and new to create its own unique take on the series' bread and butter. Let's start with the basics. From the moment you pick up the controller, you can tell this game feels far different from its 2014 predecessor. Drifting feels looser. The mini turbo stat has been revamped to only affect how long the boosts are instead of charge time, opening up viability for more character and vehicle combinations. Gliding is more nimble yet heavier than before, and the new water racing reminds me of the slippier controls of 64 and Double Dash. But all of these changes pale in comparison to World's crowning achievement: the new movement options and revamped trick system. Ever since Mario Kart Wii introduced the trick system, it's always been context dependent. If you press the shoulder buttons off a ramp or a bump, you perform a trick and get a boost upon landing. Its inclusion definitely made tracks a lot more engaging, but I've always felt the system's implementation was lacking. Sure, yeah, the act of pressing the shoulder button and hearing that iconic jingle always sends dopamine to my brain, but after seeing trick systems from other games in the genre, it really proved that the King of Karts implementation was always a bit shallow. World remedies this in a big way, as you can basically trick off everything. The trick system is still context dependent like prior entries, but the parameters on what can or can't be tricked off of has been increased dramatically. As long as you are in the air, you can perform a trick. In fact, you can now perform multiple tricks by pressing the shoulder button again or in combination with a direction. Initially, you might think this is pointless, as you don't get any extra boost from it, but it can be very useful for repositioning yourself mid-air, which pairs beautifully with everything this new movement has to offer. If you're in mid-air and you happen to collide with an obstacle, you can trick off that obstacle to keep your momentum. Just from this alone, you can start to see the possibilities this revamp presents. But hold on, there's more. Allow me to introduce World's secret sauce: the charge jump. Hold the shoulder button while driving straight and you'll start charging your jump, and upon release, you get, well, you look at that, a trick. Those mere possibilities from before became nearly limitless just by the inclusion of this movement option. The charge jump interacts with everything World's movement has to offer, including its other new additions. If you charge jump or trick near a wall, you can attach yourself and ride the wall a la Mario Kart 8's anti-grav, and this does wonders for the track design. Anti-grav was, and still is, one of the best mechanics added to Mario Kart. It allowed EPD9 to craft courses with some of the most batshit insane track design we've seen to date. The utter disbelief you feel driving on walls, ceilings, or even the other side of the road is still unmatched, as the mechanic packed every track via its inclusion with spectacle. But that's all it was. Spectacle. You were still basically playing the game as you've always had. And the only gameplay addition granted from this new gimmick was a little boost when colliding with other players. Nothing groundbreaking here. For all of its flashiness and jaw-dropping visuals, anti-gravity didn't really push Mario Kart's gameplay forward. Wall rides, on the other hand, do. They feel like the natural evolution of the beloved mechanic, now acting as a powerful tool in your arsenal instead of just being the sole focus. Do you want to ride the riskier wall route for a faster line? Or would you rather take the safer but slower route instead? Or to flip it on its head, do you take the slower wall to avoid the chaos of the pack? Or do you risk the faster route knowing there's a higher chance of you getting bombarded with items? These are the type of questions Wall Rides presents, and it adds a new layer to Mario Kart's moment-to-moment decision-making, while also looking dope as hell. It's the best of both worlds. The same goes for rail grinding. Grinding on rails is so fucking cool. Hopping from rail to rail evokes much of that Dreamcast Sonic flair, which shocks me that it's the plumber that got to this first and not the blue sellout. But what I like most about rails is the risk versus reward decision making. Rail grinding poses the same questions wall rides do, but with a lot more variables to be aware of. Much like walls, rails have massive shortcut potential, but they also tend to be suspended over pits, though just one wrong mistake can easily book you a quick trip to Lakitu. And don't think you're safe once you're on the rail. Oh no. You still have to worry about a player trapping that rail with bananas, or a player coming up from behind and knocking you off, both leading to the same fate. So you gotta weigh your options. That rail route may be the optimal line, but carries that aforementioned risk. So it might be better to take the lamer and safer route depending on your situation. Or you take the risk anyway for the chance of getting ahead, or to further extend your front run. This kind of thinking is what cements a good game mechanic. Rail grinds and wall rides are so satisfying to pull off during a race. As you can tell, these new movement abilities are already strong just in isolation. But it's when you use them all in unison is where the real magic begins. This is the best a kart racer has ever felt, bar none. Jumping onto a wall to hop on a rail, then hop on another wall, only to hop off that wall and trick off a course obstacle to launch yourself in order to perform a big shortcut feels nothing short of euphoric. It's elegant, stylish, and you feel badass while doing so. This is the Mario Kart team giving us the tools and saying, the sky's the limit, go nuts. And unlike Wii's Ultra Shortcuts and 8 Deluxe's Motion Glider, these ain't exploits. They're ingrained into World's DNA as littered throughout every part of the game. EPD9 is practically begging you to break this game wide open. Furthermore, this newfound freedom pairs beautifully with this game's fantastic track design. You can't have Mario Kart without the courses. They complete the series' golden trifecta alongside the driving and items. Mario Kart 8 pushed the track design to what I thought was the absolute pinnacle, and what felt like a culmination of over 20 years of experience and clever usage of anti-gravity throughout its girthy selection. And much like everyone else at the time, I said, there's no way the next game is topping Mario Kart 8. Boy, was I wrong. In World, these ain't courses. They're your playground. The level of interactivity this new movement presents for these courses is unfathomable. Take Great Question Block Ruins for example. The theming of the track is beautiful, taking place above the clouds as you venture through the mystical ruins of a question mark block, but it also has some of the craziest tricks you can do in this game, from wall riding on the inside of a tight curve to doing this to skip the cloud section. It's nuts. This kind of out-of-the-box thinking is prevalent throughout almost all of World's course selection. Whistle Stop Summit, Acorn Heights, Shy Guy Bazaar, Brybones Burnout, faraway oasis. If you can name it, it's got it. Even the funny cow track got some crazy tech you can pull off. These courses are so addicting to play on. I've got over 200 hours in this game and I'm still not tired of them. The new movement is a big reason why, don't get me wrong. But these tracks prove, even after 10 years, the Big N still got it. Mario Bros. Circuit doesn't quite reach the highs of Mario Kart Stadium or GCN Luigi Circuit, but it isn't too far behind them. The track naturally eases you into World's new mechanics, and the Monument Valley Route 66 theming keeps it distinct from its predecessors while also easily selling the vibes World is going for. DK Spaceport might appear simple if you only judged it by its minimap, but its series of straightaways act as intense obstacle courses that test your knowledge of World's mechanics while also reveling in that classic Mario Kart chaos as the track contracts and expands. It also serves as a love letter to the Donkey Kong arcade board, from the track being modeled after 25M, the first level from the game, and its music. As the track ups the intensity as you ascend higher, so does the music until it plays a rendition of the Hammer theme as you make a mad dash dodging barrels from RoboDK and items galore from other players. It's always such a joy playing this course, even if I'm the one getting Mario Kart into oblivion. Starview Peak's layout is among the simplest of the nitros, with the track basically being a circle, having the colored split roads a la Ice Ice Outpost, and a dazzling water section. But that Comet Observatory theming and Aurora Borealis at night is just so breathtaking that it won me over in the end. Galaxy 2 is my second favorite game of all time. Sprinkle a dabble of it in any game and I'll be fawning all over it. Almost. The same goes for Boo Cinema. The track layout won't be exciting anyone, but the theming is sick as hell. Diving into a theater screen and driving on the literal film reel has got to be one of the coolest and creative ideas ever. I haven't always been the biggest Bowser's Castle fan, but man, World's version of the series staple is fantastic, with the industrial techno vibes as you pass their laboratory before ascending into the thunderclouds as you frantically dodge fireballs at high speeds. It's as bombastic as it is chaotic. Not to mention all of the cool cuts and tricks you can pull off, because wow, this track is full of so many jaw-dropping shortcuts, like holy shit. And that's just the nitros. The retros are somehow even better. Mario Kart 8 did wonders revitalizing the classic throwbacks, but where 8 walked, World ran. Some of these retros are completely unrecognizable from their original counterparts. N64 Wario Stadium was infamous in Mario Kart 64 for being incredibly long, and unlike that game's Rainbow Road, where its length helped make that track feel like one last test of endurance as you enjoy the serene starry night skies, Wario Stadium was just boring and repetitive. So what does World do in order to reimagine this infamous track? Well, I think they did a damn fine job. They cut the fat while retaining what made the original memorable. They gave the stadium a Mad Max vibe with the flamethrowers and rugged look, and upped the energy of Kenta Nagata's iconic raceway theme with the added electric guitars to make for an incredible retro comeback. The makeover, combined with all the fun rail grind routes and wall rides, transforms Wario Stadium from a track I only liked because of nostalgia to a track I always look forward to playing, and that's one hell of an achievement. Sky High Sunday is in a similar boat as well. The once middling Booster Course Pass debut now feels like a complete track, with it being far more engaging thanks to the multitude of alternate routes that take advantage of World's mechanics. Wall riding on the inside of the final curve and constantly hopping on and off to get a boost will never not be satisfying. It's so good it's got people dropping conspiracy theories about this track being made for World to begin with. That's when you know you've made a banger. Each beach's globe expanded on the resort theme from the original, as the villa section has now been expanded to cover the final 2 laps. This one is a bit of a mixed bag, as the final section is a bit of a wet fart after the highs of the previous 2 sections, but it still culminates in a unique take on the GameCube classic. Wario Shipyard has been redesigned for World's new water drive mechanics, bringing a unique take on one of 7's underrated tracks. And much like the other water tracks like Salty Salty Speedway and Cheap Cheap Falls, it's very rewarding using the movement to stay out of the water as much as possible, even more so in Shipyard's case due to the track's ravenous waves. Airship Fortress and Toad's Factory's added rail routes breathe new life into these classics, giving Airship a faster line through its rails, and Toad's Factory an exhilarating finish as you jump from beam to beam and even on top of the tractors themselves. When I found out the Mario circuit of this game was going to be SNES Mario Circuit, I rolled my eyes, but it turned out to be a fun twist on the 1992 classic. Merging the 3 Mode 7 circuits into one single lap track has made the Super Nintendo throwback far more enjoyable than if all 3 of these were their own individual tracks. The classic go-kart racetrack pairs well with the decade-spanning legacy of these tracks. It's honestly one of my favorites aesthetic-wise. I can go on and on about these courses, but I think you guys get the picture. These courses are some of the best in the series, without a doubt. Yeah, some tracks are better than others, but hey, every Mario Kart has its duds. It's only been a little over 3 months at the time of writing, and I continue to be impressed by the crazy clips I see on social media. Launching myself off a curb, or using a combination of this game's movement to perform a crazy cut will never not kick in that dopamine high for me. And it ain't easy. You will fail. A lot. But when you do pull it off, it makes for a feeling only this medium could provide. It makes me actively pick up time trials for these courses to not only get better times, but also just to get better at the new tech. For the record, I haven't played time trials since Mario Kart Wii, and that was back when it had extrinsic incentive. Here, it's the complete opposite. Yet for all of its added depth and avenues for player expression, Mario Kart World is still easy to pick up and play, just like its modern entries before it. I'm honestly impressed how well they struck a balance between the 2 styles of Mario Kart. If 8 was a culmination, World is an evolution. It has the perfect blend of the distinctiveness and skill of classic Mario Kart and accessibility of the modern entries, while also setting a new standard for this over 30-year franchise. For over 11 years, I was puzzled on how they would top Mario Kart 8, but EPD9 never fails to amaze me. And if this was the entire package, honestly, I would have been satisfied. But this isn't the entire package. To be frank, this whole segment is barely a part of the conversation in regards to Mario Kart World. Rather, something else entirely. It's like I said in the intro. EPD9 wasn't content with this game just being Mario Kart 9. They yearned for it to be so much more. Freedom is one of the many core philosophies that encompasses Mario Kart World, not only through its movement and course design, but as its main selling point. I was intrigued when I saw World's tagline during the Switch 2 Direct. Some of my fondest moments with the series was discovering I could drive around Peach's castle in Mario Kart 64, spotting other tracks in the distance in Double Dash, and the hidden details in Mario Kart 8's tracks, hinting at an interconnected world of its own. So the prospect of driving anywhere in an interconnected open world was as fascinating as it was ambitious. Mario Kart has always stuck to its tried and true formula for 3 decades now, yet its recent entries have always tried to reinvent how we interact with these courses. 7 introduced underwater racing, gliding through the skies above, and the fan favorite one-lap marathons, while 8 took us up, down, and all around, with its focus on zero-G. The interconnected world is simply a natural evolution of this philosophy, venturing beyond the bounds of these courses and going bigger than ever before. No matter where you go, you will always find yourself back on its sprawling roads. It is what distinguishes itself from merely having another numeral to its name. So let's take a stroll and see what this world has to offer, starting with free roam. Free roam is exactly as it sounds. You get to explore this vast world to your heart's content. From the moment I started free roam, all those childhood memories came rushing back to me. I felt like a kid again, going beyond the bounds of these tracks and taking in the details of this world. I know an open world racing game isn't a new concept in the slightest, but there's something about being able to fully explore a Mario world that feels like a dream come true. 8-year-old me would have been mind blown fully exploring Toad's Factory or Peach Beach. It made driving around and getting the feel of the mechanics during the early hours so fun. Free roam makes learning the tracks a breeze, and combined with the new rewind feature and it restoring used items, it's my go-to way to practice many of the crazy tricks you see online. But outside of practicing the tracks and soaking in the sights, what else is there to do in free roam? Well, this ain't no Forza Horizon, but there's a few things to do. One of my treasured memories from my darling baby Mario Kart DS is playing through the mission mode. These unique challenges combined with the sick boss fights not only helped players get used to the mechanics of Mario Kart, but also added a lot of memorability and juice to the DS's single-player offering. For a mode that was so beloved, it's honestly a surprise that it never reappeared in a series entry since. That is, until now. After nearly 20 years, Mario Kart World ushers in the return of mission mode via the P-Switch missions. Much like their DS counterpart, these missions act as fun challenges while also getting you used to World's mechanics. Most of the typical mission mode types are covered here: collecting coins, racing in a set location, and reaching the goal ring / flagpole, with some variations of going through rings to add additional time. The mission variety is a tad less compared to what we got in 2005, but the team makes the most of their limited pool through using the world design to craft dozens of bite-sized obstacle courses. These missions ain't no slouch either, as a good majority of these took a few attempts to clear, but it makes the gratification of that eventual clear all the sweeter. My favorite ones has got to be the SNES throwbacks littered throughout the world, and the special test of skill missions, which puts your knowledge of World's mechanics to the ultimate test. Sadly, no boss fights, which just feels like a missed opportunity to not have scattered throughout the world. Stumbling around and then suddenly encountering a boss would have been so cool. Outside of the P-switches, there's the item panels from Super Mario Kart scattered around each course, along with Peach medallions spread throughout the world. These mini world puzzles double as not only a skill check, but also an invisible tutorial that shows you what you can do with World's revamped trick system. Usually you can spot these collectibles out in the open, and the challenge comes from figuring out how to reach them. Routing my way to these collectibles has been some of the most fun I've had in free roam. Even more fun than the P-switch missions at times. But I've listed a ton of things to do in this world, but what do you get out of doing these activities? Well, that's where things get controversial. What you get out of doing anything in free roam is a sticker. Stickers are cosmetics that you can use to personalize your online profile and your cart, which vary from noticeable to this. Yeah, it's not great. I think bringing back personalization options to the series is a neat idea, but I wish the execution was more like DS's emblem system, or just being able to put multiple stickers all over your vehicles, similar to Splatoon 3's locker customization. It has led to the consensus that free roam is a boring open world, lacking in content, and with no incentive to see what it has to offer. I can't lie, I was feeling the same sentiment during the early hours of my playthrough. While doing the P-switches and getting collectibles was fun, the wish of this being so much more kept perpetuating throughout my mind. But after a few races, I dabbled in free roam for a few hours and then went back to online. And before I knew it, I was doing another P-switch mission, then another Peach medallion, then a question mark panel, then I was taking in the sights, grinding on rails, and that's when it hit me. Those thoughts from before completely vanished. Sure, yeah, we could have gotten a story campaign or better rewards, but I don't care. Free roam is chill as fuck. It's just fun messing around and seeing what's up in this world. It feels like there's never a dull moment when driving around. There's always either a P-switch / medallion or a new site to take photos in photo mode. It's so addicting. Honestly, after spending more time with the mode, I think giving an incentive would completely ruin what free roam is going for. It's at its best because there's no incentive. The only limit is your imagination. One session I'm spending time doing P-switches and collecting medallions, and at another I would do none of that, just dicking about and having my own fun. I follow the train just to see where it goes, I gawk at the little world events, seeing coins and item boxes raining from the sky. I mess around with the wacky vehicles and rain havoc. I love the cute little details of the NPCs doing their own thing. I love jumping off street rails or tricking off random obstacles, etc, etc. I would always play free roam in the back room when talking to my friends, to the point that my buddy Trunk attributed it to doomscrolling. It has been quite the cozy experience for me. Having the online lobbies take place in free roam was an ingenious decision. Taking photos or chasing the guy who got first and blasting them with items before the next race, it's always so amusing. Much like its movement systems, free roam is bound by that same philosophy, just in its own unique way. It's not trying to be some reinvention of the open world genre. Hell, it's not even the world's biggest component. It's simply just a laid-back mode for you to do whatever you want. Free roam feels like an anomaly in today's landscape. In an age where season passes, battle passes, roadmaps, and checklists reign supreme, Mario Kart World's bold assertion to forego all of those allows me to relish in the simple pleasures that I usually take for granted. It could have been a Breath of the Wild, Cyberpunk, or any other open world game, but then it wouldn't be free roam. That pure, unadulterated bliss can only be achieved when you buck the trend, subvert expectations, and carve out your own path. I've come to expect this feeling out of a Zelda or Xenoblade. Never in my life would I have expected a Mario Kart game to invoke this much in me, and it's a pleasant surprise at that. Could it have been better? Absolutely. There's tons of potential that's begging to be tapped into, like more multiplayer events in place of the P-switches, more secrets like the underground pipe rooms, and more mission types. They could bring back some of DS's mission types like defeating a certain amount of enemies, or racing the truck similar to racing the car on Shroom Ridge. The sky's the limit. If there's one critique I do agree with, is that we should get some sort of list for these P-switch missions. While I love discovering these missions myself, the completionist in me is a bit frustrated that there's no way to compile which missions you have done or not, aside from driving to the literal P-switch, which is again, frustrating. So an addition like that would go miles in making the experience better. But all in all, free roam doesn't take away from the racing. It complements it. The soothing relaxation after a heated race, messing around with my friends, and turning this world into a giant playbox are some of the fondest memories I have of this game. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but Mario Kart World is all the better for it. Plus, it allowed me to bask in this game's incredible, right on time. June 11th, 2013 is a day I'll never forget. It was the first time I experienced an emotional roller coaster. First it was despair, then came a surge of pure, unfiltered joy. Mario Kart's jump into the world of high definition with Mario Kart 8 was absolutely mind-boggling, especially coming from Mario Kart 7's dinky little 240p just a few years prior. Seeing the Mushroom Kingdom with this level of fidelity was magical, and I honestly didn't know how the next entry would recapture the magic of that first look. But it only took one look at World for me to fall in love. This game is an absolute beauty. Nintendo's debut into the world of Quad HD does not disappoint. It's so vibrant and colorful, and it just pops on any modern display. I was especially impressed playing in handheld mode on the Switch 2's 1080p screen. It really recaptured the amazement of playing a console game in the palm of your hands. And that's even before we bring up this game's brimming personality. The UI has changed from the clean modern look we all know and well to a rugged off-road kind of vibe, which fits well with the themes of World. It's honestly refreshing to see a unique look for the series after nearly 2 decades of the modern aesthetic. The characters though? Oh my god! It's the best the cast has ever looked. Shigehisa Nakaue's art style is beautifully translated here, feeling like these characters jump straight out of those classic illustrations. The cast is so expressive, from their little dances on the character select screen, to their victory animations, to their reactions to the looming blue shell. The use of squash and stretch on the characters and carts, along with the more animated effects, like the text on the Bob-omb explosion, feels like World is harkening back to the series' cartoony roots, invoking much of Mario Kart 64's late 90s charm, and I'm all for it. While I still love Base 8's realistic take on the Mushroom Kingdom, this is the quintessential look when I think of Mario. A colorful, bubbly, and delightful world that wants players to do one thing: have fun. And Mario Kart World fully realizes that with flying colors. The roster itself is arguably the best base roster since Mario Kart Wii. The usuals are here and accounted for outside of some questionable absences. Why is he gone again? And some quirky new additions. Never thought I'd be playing as the cow from Moo Moo Meadows in an official Mario Kart game. But here we are. My personal favorite is the Snowman. He's just so precious. These guys wouldn't be my first pick in a dream roster, but I'd gladly take playing as a Bitty Bud, Pianta, or Cataquack over the dog shit that filled Mario Kart 8's base roster. It's not just the newcomers that have the spotlight. Our old favorites are also sporting some new threads. Costumes have been heavily requested for years, and I'm so glad World finally brought it to a home console entry. Mario already looks snazzy in this new art style, but if you put him in the Sunshine fit, you'll have me choosing Mario in a Mario spinoff for once. Yoshi can be a biker reminiscent of Oshi, one of the world's elite, or your average 9-to-5 fast food worker, putting them fries in the bag. The princesses are also looking stylish in their new apparel. Peach's touring and yukata outfits look cool and flashy, Rosalina dazzles the eyes in her Aurora and Racer fits, and my girl Daisy rocks in just about anything, along with giving everyone I know a sexual awakening. Lastly, I can't forget about the Toads, these cutie patooties. Their racer outfits having their heads as an oversized helmet is so adorable. Toadette's conductor, soft serve, and explorer outfits are all so endearing. And the Burger Bud fit is just peak costume design. We can't get any better than this. This is only a mere snippet of the 103 costumes in this game, and that number could possibly go up depending on whatever World gets post-launch content. I love the unique trick animations every costume gets, like Mario's glasses popping off for his Sunshine fit, or Yoshi posing up like a G, Kane in tow in his Aristocrat fit. Usually when I find my main, I stick to them to the end of time. But these costumes have encouraged me to expand my horizons, picking characters I would have never picked if not for these new fits. Costumes are another way of World granting the player freedom. With so many choices to choose from, there's always a way to express yourself. It's in line with Nintendo's philosophy all throughout the Switch era, deepening player freedom and expression within their worlds, and I truly hope this is a mainstay in future Mario Kart games going forward. Then, we have the karts themselves. After over a decade with kart customization, EPD9 went back to basics, as we're back to the classic style of choosing karts. I don't mind the customization of 7 and 8, but it feels so good not to be in the menus for 5 minutes making your build. We got new faces, as always, along with some familiar ones. Some of my favorites include the baby Blooper, due to its cuteness and handling like a dream, and the little Dumpy is awesome. Who wouldn't want to crush their friends in a little tight stump truck? I won't go too deep into the dozens of karts World has to offer, but they're great. These, combined with the aforementioned costumes and enemy characters, culminate in a fun roster. And it's better to be fun than safe and boring. This doesn't mean they are without their faults, however. Alright, since we already got the ball rolling, let's start with costumes. Firstly, the distribution of costumes are not made equal. Sure, yeah, Mario's the main man, so of course he gets the full course when it comes to his wardrobe selection. But how in the hell do you explain this inexcusable act of greed? Is there someone on the team that just really loves the babies? Also, it feels restrictive on who has costumes and who doesn't. Like, why does Koopa Troop and Shy Guy have costumes, but not Dry Bones? Why do none of the new Glorbles get any new costumes either? Like, I get it. There's only so much you can do with basic-ass Mario goons. But come on! We could have had the Don Piana from Thousand Year Door, or basically any of the outfits from Sunshine, or Dry Bones could have gotten a Day of the Dead themed outfit, considering his track is literally themed around that. Secondly, they're the cause for this absolutely dreadful character selection screen. For some reason, EPD9 decided to have every costume take up its own slot, which just leads to wasted time scrolling through the pages for the character you want. And it's even more dreadful whenever you want to gather up 3 other lads for some classic multiplayer fun. This frustrates me more knowing Mario Kart 8 had this problem solved back in 2014 with a simple submenu for alts. The fact we've somehow gone backwards on something so simple in a next-gen entry is absolutely mind-boggling. At least could it remember the last sorting option so this menu can look somewhat organized? Lastly, there's the way you acquire the new threads. Dash Food. Dash Food is one of World's many new items. You grab one from the local Yoshis littered across the map, and depending on the food and tier, you get a speed boost and unlock a new costume. Dash Food is a neat concept that plays into World's themes, with various types of foods you can find throughout, with the outfits you acquire from the delectable, depending on the location. But it's in that last part which exposes the underlying problem. Because all of these costumes are tied to specific foods, it amounts to a lot of fiddling around in free roam, driving around and praying you find the right food to unlock the costume you want. Repeat that 24 times and you've got quite the cumbersome unlock method. I ultimately didn't mind it because of the hours of annoyance this would cause me would pale in comparison to the hours I'll be actually playing the game, but that doesn't save it from being an unexciting unlock method. After you unlock all the costumes, however, Dash Food kind of just falls to the wayside. I mean, it's still useful as you still get a mini turbo-esque boost, and it allows for great shortcut potential. But most of the time, I would rather have any other item, which will be far more helpful during the race. Awesome concept and utility, but makes for an unengaging unlock method in the end. But even this is child's play in comparison to the absolutely baffling design decision that is the unlock method for the NPC drivers. Like the costumes, it centers around another one of World's new items, Kamek. Once used, the dastardly Magic Koopa was zoomed to the front of the pack to lay down a barrage of obstacles for the players to avoid, with anyone caught in this trail being transformed into that respective enemy. Much like Dash Food, this is interesting in concept, but the execution is anything but. Since Kamek is an item, it's entirely position dependent, and to even have the chance of getting one of these new racers, you have to get hit by the item. So you have to pray that you aren't either behind the person who used it, or the poor soul who got it. Even then, you still have a chance to get dupes, which will happen a lot. So it's an unlock system so layered in RNG, it even gives gacha games a run for its money. To be frank, it is infuriating, and I can't believe something like this made it into the final product. Thankfully, I got all of the characters naturally by playing the game after 2 weeks, but most of my friends were stuck doing shit like this. Looks fun, right? Yeah, I don't think so. To think we've sunk this low when it comes to unlocks since the pinnacle that was Wii, it's just sad, man. Carts are unlocked the same way as they've always been since 7, despite reverting to the classic system. Same goes for our standard characters being at the end of the Grand Prix. The only thing that has that semblance is how you unlock mirror mode. You basically have to do a little bit of everything in the game, and then complete the special cup on 150cc, bam, you get a cute cutscene telling you it's unlocked. I love that if you go through the stained window at Peach's Castle, you get a mirrored version of the world, which is a cute nod to Mario 64. I like that we have a little bit of the Wii spirit in its unlocks, actually requiring you to engage with World's core modes. I just wish the reward wasn't mirror mode out of all things. But on the topic of modes, where's 200cc? I never really cared for 200cc primarily because Mario Kart 8's tracks weren't designed for it, and honestly, if you really wanted to play a Nintendo racer with high speeds and high stakes, boy do I have the series for you. Nevertheless, it was honestly one of the things I was looking forward to in the next entry, since 200cc would be accounted for from the get-go. But here I am, baffled at its absence. Like I said, I wasn't a big fan of 200cc, so it didn't really bother me all that much. But this is a mode that's been in the series for 11 years at this point. Even the damn mobile game had 200cc, and even if Tor had the gall to paywall it, at least it had it. Maybe it would have conflicted with World's revamped trick system, but it's still a damn shame it isn't here. And then there's the battle mode. Like, come on guys. If we're being honest, battle mode has been on the decline for years now, ever since Mario Kart Wii introduced a timer. Wii and 7 were still decent with a fair selection of good battle maps, but paled in comparison to the all-time classics that were 64 and Double Dash's battle modes. 8 Deluxe's iteration of the series staple was definitely the best of the modern iterations, but still retains the mode's Achilles heel. Based on the fan backlash of the turd that was Base 8's battle mode, and praise of 8 Deluxe's, you'd think it's only up from here. But I never expected that we would take 3 gigantic leaps back. Much like every other part of the game, the battle maps are also part of the open world, which leads to most of them just being closed off sections of said world. Some are fine, and others are just way too big to be fun at all. To no one's surprise, World's best battle maps are retro throwbacks because they were already designed as battle maps first compared to the rest of the offerings. The modes are just the bare minimum to call it a battle mode, which is just sad. Balloon Battle is now elimination based again, which is nice, but we still can't get rid of that damn timer. And Coin Runners, a mode I usually enjoy, is just boring due to how big these maps are. I'm genuinely shocked Renegade Roundup didn't make the cut, as it would be perfect for World's player count. I'm not surprised that battle mode is bad here, just disappointed that we've sunk this low again. Like, it's better than 8U, but should that even be an accomplishment? I love this game, but they absolutely dropped the ball here. It's not even close. Alright, I've aired out a lot of my grievances with this game, but there's one last triumph I've yet to bring up. Its killer soundtrack. Mario Kart's blend of rock, jazz fusion, and big band has always produced some bangin' tunes, cementing tracks like Mario Raceway, Cheeseland, Mushroom City, Delfino Square, Coconut Mall, and Rainbow Road as all-time classics. Mario Kart 8's use of live recordings in its soundtrack soared the excellence of Mario Kart's music into the mainstream, with bangers like Mount Wario, Mute City, and Dolphin Shoals making up the series' best album yet. And not to sound like a broken record, I honestly didn't know how the Mario Kart band would one-up themselves after 8, but my ears weren't ready for the symphonic heaven the Mario Kart band had in tow. Just when you thought you've seen the peak, these fellas just continue to push the envelope. There's the pieces for the tracks themselves, which are just as excellent as ever. There's the aforementioned DK Spaceport with its love letter to the classic Donkey Kong arcade board. Koopa Beach 2 makes its second return, disguising itself under the name of its better counterpart, but I'll be damned. The new beach party vibes combined with an EDM mix of Soyo Oka's iconic piece makes it all well worth. Drybones Burnout's use of Latin jazz pairs well with the Day of the Dead theming, and is overall just a damn pleaser for the ears. Like, listen to this shit. Lastly, Crown City is that classic Mario Kart jazz fusion at its peak. I can listen to this on repeat for days. However, the tracks are only the appetizer, because on top of that, there are over 200 remixes from not only Mario Kart, but all of Mario's storied history. When I first heard World's rendition of Staff Credits A from Mario Kart Wii, a tsunami of nostalgia came rushing in. It's not just the popular picks either. We got some wild deep cuts, like who expected them to drop a remix of the Mario drawing song? I'll take it because that song's a banger. And I miss Flipnote Studio. During World's pre-release and after we found out these remixes will be present, one of my biggest hopes was that Yoshi Star Galaxy made the cut, as it's one of my favorite tracks ever, and if you haven't noticed, I like Galaxy 2 quite a lot. So when I got the game, I played some online, and after re-entering free roam, I heard the opening notes of a familiar tune, and I was not disappointed. Turning Yoshi Star Galaxy into a laid-back groove is one of the best decisions the sound team made and has been an instant addition to the playlist. Like, they even got Tickle-Egg, man! I'm in tears! The people were right. This really is an $80 soundtrack that so happens to come with a game. It feels like a celebration of not only Mario Kart, but the series it's a spin-off of. Hearing these bangers play throughout free roam just enhances the chill vibes and makes me fall in love with the mode even more. I just wish there was a jukebox menu so we can hear these tracks whenever we want. Or Nintendo could use that nifty music app they launched last year. I don't understand the point of the app if we can't listen to the soundtrack on or at least shortly after the launch, especially with a game OST as big as this one. Yet another Nintendo head scratcher. We plays, we thank your efforts. But free roam isn't the only place that you get to hear these incredible tunes. You also hear them in the other major component of World's open road. So let's reel it back, take it slow, as we ride down the many freeways of its interconnected world. At last, we've reached the foundation for EPD9's interconnected philosophy. Free roam is obviously what comes to mind when pondering about an open world Mario Kart, but Mario Kart World isn't an open world Mario Kart. Rather, it's Mario Kart with an open world. While its world is the heart of this entry, Mario Kart World is only interested in using the world as a vehicle for Mario Kart's gameplay, rather than playing to the strengths of the genre. It's why free roam is tucked away at the bottom right corner. Driving at your leisure is something you can do, but it's never the main attraction. Now, our main attraction has been given many names: routes, connecting tracks, straight lines, but we'll use the widely accepted intermissions in regards to this new spin on Mario Kart's gameplay going forward. Intermissions are the face of World's bold new direction, and have also proven to be its most divisive, but you wouldn't know just from the concept alone. The prospect of driving to the next course sounds enticing, and Mario Kart is no stranger to point-to-point racing, as those types of tracks are often regarded as among the best in the series. So why are these tracks so beloved and intermissions aren't? Well, it all lies in the details. The track layout for the average intermission is far simpler than the 3-lap circuits we've grown accustomed to, or even the section tracks, as it mainly consists of straightaways and a few bends. Once you reach the course, you only get 1 lap and that's it. It leads to the courses being less memorable than previous entries due to the heavily skewed time spent on these highways compared to the tracks you're actually here for. Like any intermission towards Koopa Troopa Beach is garbage because the track looks like this, so you spend a good 3 to 4 minutes actually getting there compared to the 15 seconds of the actual track. Furthermore, due to both of these aforementioned points, intermissions heavily rewards passive play and Mario Kart's infamous strategy, bagging. Bagging, for the few people who don't know, is a strategy of purposely playing bad in order to obtain stronger items and take the win at the last second. And with some of the massive shortcuts you can do on these intermissions, it's no surprise the strategy is popular. Essentially, intermissions takes Mario Kart World, a technical and stylish kart racer, and dilutes it down to 3 simple actions. Now, with all that being said, what if I told you I actually like the intermissions? Alright, before you bring out your pitchforks, hear me out. While the aforementioned points are still the intermission's Achilles heel, it doesn't paint the full picture. While tight driving is a core aspect of Mario Kart's identity, it isn't the only one. We're forgetting the other that makes Mario Kart the household name it is: chaos. Mario Kart World ups the ante on its trademark multiplayer madness by doubling the player count to a whopping 24, and you can't talk about Mario Kart's chaos without mentioning the tools of its anarchy. Items have received a big shakeup in World compared to its predecessor. Items have reverted back to being position-based instead of distance-based. Items now automatically trail behind you, and they got a much-needed bounce pass as well. Bullet bills are slower and only push your cart aside instead of hitting you. The lightning only shocks the players in front of you, and the shock duration has been decreased dramatically. Mushrooms are now faster and now the best items in the game thanks to the massive off-road cuts presented in these highways. And the boomerang is now more annoying than ever thanks to its aimbot homing and persistence in your item slot, unlike an 8. This rebalance allows for the previous broken items in 8 to still be useful, while also propping up new items to take up the spotlight. The shock may not be the universal upheaval it once was, but it's still useful for leveling the playing field, which can still prove crucial on that final lap if you dodge, or if you're the one calling down the storm. The bullet bill may not be able to spin out players, but it can still snag items or even tip players out of a drift, which you'd be surprised how many times it happens during a tense moment in a race. But a rebalance isn't the only thing World brings to the table. We got some additions to the item roster, both old and new. There's the aforementioned Kamek item. The Ice Flower joins the ranks along with its fire counterpart, but it ends up feeling like filler with it being a carbon copy of the Fire Flower, with the slight difference being your handling is thrown out of whack. While this trait can see its usefulness during an actual race, it isn't enough to make a profound impact. There's the Hammer, which allows you to throw an arc of lingering hammers in front or behind your competition. It has a bit of a learning curve to effectively use it, but it's overall a fun new addition to the set of attack items. World introduces 2 new coin items, the Coin Shell and Question Mark Block. The Coin Shell leaves a trail of coins as it travels ahead of you and hits anyone caught in its path, and the Question Mark Block gives you a bundle of coins while dropping some for others to grab. These new items help alleviate the increased coin count to 20, but it can also be infuriating due to the position you can acquire them. The Question Mark Block is better now thanks to a recent update, but man, it's deflating when you pass the final item set only to get a coin shell while everyone else zooms ahead of you with better pulls. The feather returns as an item proper and it works exactly as you'd expect. You can dodge obstacles and it has far better shortcut potential than it ever did in Super Mario Kart. Lastly, we have the return of the Mega Mushroom for Mario Kart Wii, because out of all of the picks they could have chosen, it was the only reasonable option. In Wii, the Mega Mushroom was just okay. It acted more so like a pseudo-star, but it was still affected by items such as the shock, which put a damper on its effectiveness. World juiced up the Mega by turning it into a more prominent star, finally allowing it to dodge the shock, and man, the sound design when you squish a player is just perfect. Overall, it's a decent lineup. Not the best, but still fun. Combine all of that with World retaining the double item slots from 8 Deluxe, and you're getting Mario Kart like you've never been before. The item hit stun has been greatly reduced, and you keep moving similar to Double Dash, and since intermissions keeps everyone tightly packed, you're only one wrong move or blue shell away from the bombardment that awaits you. You see players zooming through with golden mushrooms, multiple bullet bills blasting through the pack, and an assortment of items flying across the highway. It's chaotic, frustrating, hilarious, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, most of them still look like this, and bagging is still a serious problem, but there's still some fun to be had here. Aside from the aforementioned off-road cuts, you can use the trick system to pull off some stylish shortcuts or break away from the pack. There's countless obstacles throughout these vast highways, from super cars, enemies, wildlife, to my favorite, the item card that splurges in an assortment of items on the road. Some intermissions have cool set pieces like getting caught in a tornado, riding on top of manta rays, being able to use the wacky vehicles to rain havoc, and others completely change how the actual course is driven. Usually these amount to driving the tracks backwards, but others have completely new layouts, and there's no course that showcases this better than Crown City. The bustling city inspired by the San Francisco Bays is usually one big section track, but when playing on an intermission to Crown City, you have the possibility of getting not one, but 3 unique track layouts. Same goes for Shy Guy Bazaar. There's a few routes that let you drive through Daisy's Palace, and it's awesome. There are a few stinkers, however, and Peach Stadium immediately comes to mind. Instead of driving on the pseudo anti-grab turns sprawling around Peach's castle, I get to drive on this paperclip that somehow makes Koopa Troopa Beach look like a masterpiece. Blunders aside, I really enjoy the chaotic beauty the intermissions provide. Not every route of the girthy 202 intermissions is a home run. As for every Bowser's Castle to Airship Fortress, there's a Mario Bros. Circuit to Desert Hills. But with these routes having so many ways to keep up the chaos, you never know what you're gonna get, and the majority don't overstay their welcome. Bagging will always persist as long as Mario Kart's item system remains unchanged, but I feel it's a powerful tool in your arsenal rather than just an automatic win button. Bagging doesn't make a bad player good, but it does show a significant display of skill in the hands of a good player, and much like the tracks themselves, not every intermission is a bagger's paradise. That being said, if you're going to put effort into making an anti-bagging system, it needs to be better, because what the hell is this, man? But bagging aside, nothing in this game exemplifies the strengths of the intermissions more than World's debut mode, Knockout Tour. An elimination mode combined with Mario Kart's chaotic gameplay sounds like a match made in heaven, which makes Knockout Tour's existence all the sweeter. Knockout Tour takes you on a 10-minute marathon across the world while you fight to survive, trying to maintain your position needed for checkpoints along the way. Failure to do so will result in elimination. 4 players are eliminated at every checkpoint till there's only 4 left to duke it out on 1 lap to declare a winner. You might have been able to coast by in regular races, but in Knockout Tour, every decision counts. Every drift, every shortcut, and every item is what separates you from either bringing home the gold or going broke. It's blood pumping, exhilarating. It makes me question why they didn't do this sooner. The simple yet chaotic design of the intermissions fit Knockout Tour like a glove. The constant ebb and flow heightens the tension as you fight to stay one step ahead of elimination. For the majority of my day 1 playtime was just me spending hours and hours playing Knockout Tour, and even while recording more footage for this video, suddenly it was 4 AM and I still couldn't get enough. The sigh of relief you feel after passing a checkpoint by the skin of your teeth never gets old, and it's quick to get back into another race after you're eliminated, feeding into this mode's addictive nature. Bagging is disincentivized just by the nature of the mode constantly pushing you to stay ahead. You can still do it, but I feel it only works at the second to last checkpoint, and even then its effectiveness depends on the rally itself. Speaking of the rallies, That's the only downside. This roster isn't cutting it. I've seen the Cloud Rally more than I've seen this crash screen. This mode is in desperate need of a content injection, and they've only scratched the surface. The possible permutations are nearly endless. I hope Nintendo can add more through post-launch updates because I am fiending for more. However, what I love about intermissions the most is how it embodies the theme of Mario Kart World. Now you might be wondering, what the hell are you on about themes? It's fucking Mario Kart. But themes aren't just a narrative message. They also encompass a central idea or feeling the developers want to convey onto the player. So with that being said, what feeling did EPD9 want to capture when players play Mario Kart World? Only one word: adventure. Adventure has been synonymous with the series as much as its trademark chaotic fun, harkening all the way back to the Super Nintendo. It was the tagline for the game and all. It's why Grand Prix has always felt like a grand tour around the respective incarnations of the Mushroom Kingdom, and why the section tracks are so memorable. But Mario Kart World is definitely the largest emphasis said theme has ever felt, thanks in no small part to the interconnected open world. You feel it in the chill vibes of free roam as you make the world your oyster, the collectible stickers, the various dash delectables, and it's most definitely felt as you drive from course to course. I mean, there is a reason why the first track is based on the most famous American highway after all. One intermission may take you on a highway towards a ski resort as the black concrete slowly turns into cold, frosted snow. The next you're driving down the downpour of a river, or a drained canal dodging rolling chain chomps along the way, or drifting down the wafers towards a desert wonderland. The chaos is one thing, but this is what I adore about these simple routes. Whether that be rhythmically bouncing off the thunderous waves en route to Wario Shipyard, or while riding a beautiful waterfall, there's always something that keeps me coming back. It's a simple pleasure, really. It's a part of the reason why I love Bowser's Castle and Great Question Block Ruin so much. They're kick-ass courses on their own, don't get me wrong, but the immersion felt ascending to the skies above or scaling up a volcano just enhances the experience. As I illustrated before, Blue Cinema and Starview Peak aren't the strongest in terms of track layout, but I do enjoy their respective routes quite a bit. I love passing through the ski resort or scaling the mountain to reach the literal Starview Peak, and I'm sorry, zooming through Ghost Valley to reach the Theater of the Dead will never get old. They feel like the build-up to the main course's finale, and there's no better way to bring the hype than with a little music. Every course has an encompassing melody as you approach it from an intermission, and it never fails to pump me up. DK Spaceport's use of call and response to the Simpson Bari sax builds anticipation like it's a grand finale. And allows for its bombastic intro to take center stage. Peach Stadium's use of the same technique with the harmonica and sax in tandem with the drums and cheers from the crowd gives the course a regal and electrifying aura. It's like it's saying, "Welcome to the heart of the world, kid. This is the main event you've been waiting for." Wario Stadium's bridge has Masato Honda absolutely ripping it with a groovy sax solo of the Raceway melody before we up the energy as the main theme comes into fruition. It's genuinely such a shame we only get to hear a snippet of the full track, but the transition into the Raceway theme with the announcer commentating over your race always sends dopamine to my brain. Lastly, there's my favorite of the bunch, Toad's Factory. The pounding drums, bass, and scattered piano notes never fail to fill me with anticipation. And after passing the starting line and hearing that iconic intro again, it's like coming home. Being able to play on Toad's Factory again, especially with the added immersion from the intermissions, was a joy. Furthermore, there's one final track that I conveniently haven't brought up until now, as I believe it exemplifies everything Mario Kart World is, from its technical movement systems to its immersion and theme of adventure. And that track is Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road is a Mario Kart staple that I hold dear to my heart. The melancholy of the starry night sky paired with the serenity of the colorful road, catchiness of its music, and willingness to put your driving skill to the ultimate test, while also being the culmination of everything each entry is striving to do, has made the track a favorite of mine. It's why Wii Rainbow Road is my favorite track of all time, as it contains everything I just mentioned. It has tight turns that test your mastery of Wii's controls, half pipes and ramps littered everywhere for you to trick off of, it's suspended in space above the fucking earth, all the while having avenues for player expression through its many shortcuts and ultra shortcuts. Even then, the elements that make Rainbow Road have proven to be malleable. N64 Rainbow Road is a 7-minute marathon with its serene visuals and music that transcends the soul, and 3DS Rainbow Road was more focused on the journey across the solar system than the challenge. No matter the game, these tracks are meant to represent the pinnacle of their respective entries, an aspect I believe Mario Kart 8 dropped the ball on. For a game whose whole gimmick was anti-grav and had the potential for the wildest incarnation of the colorful course yet, Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road turning out the way it did was heartbreaking. It barely used its main gimmick and was being one-upped by tracks from the damn Flower Cup. While the futuristic space station aesthetic did freshen up the visuals, and it's still a decent track, it failed to live up to the pedigree Rainbow Road established. The retro reprisal of N64 Rainbow Road was so close to greatness until they decided to butcher what made the track special by turning it into a section track. If it wasn't for the other 3 retro Rainbow Roads, Mario Kart 8 would have had a terrible offering for its most iconic track. Now, why the long pretense? The disappointment felt from 8's Rainbow Roads is a big reason why I love World's Rainbow Road so much. I went in with zero expectations, only with the thought, as long as it's better than 8's Rainbow Road, I'll be satisfied. And what I was left with wasn't just satisfaction, it was elation. Alright, let's take it from the top. The intermission begins as we descend from Peach Stadium into the waters below. The Mario Kart sign on the Golden Gate Bridge distorts into a stargate as a beam of color radiates down from the clouds. The multicolored course beckons you to rise and reach the starry skies once more. The bridge invokes a sense of wonder and grandeur through the strings, backing drums, and synths, knowing this is it, the final test. Are you ready to ascend? And after riding the waves, we do just that. Welcome to Rainbow Road. And yeah, that's a massive fucking minimap, isn't it? It's like if you took the idea of 3DS Rainbow Road and absolutely ran with it. This Rainbow Road isn't particularly difficult, and much like 8's incarnation, it barely uses any of its new mechanics. But as I said before, what Rainbow Road is has always been dependent on their respective entries, and what Mario Kart World's Rainbow Road strives to be has never been more clear. It wants to take you on an adventure. Section 1 is a simple affair. It dazzles you with the beauty of the mystical clouds and stained glass colored road with some simple turns, a high-speed section across the rainbow, and the music is just absolutely ethereal. All that beauty, and that's before we reach my favorite section. Section 2 takes us down a crystalline river with Lumas watching from the sidelines. The titular road splits into 2 colored paths, and a train reminiscent of N64 Rainbow Road passes by. The music pumps the brakes, the sax and chorus joins the fray, and in tandem with the synth, create a heavenly groove. The dazzling river was one thing. Hearing that sax was all it took for me to fall in love. And somehow it gets even better. Section 3 blasts us deep into outer space onto a satellite themed after the Game & Watch. Once again, we're zooming at high speeds, taking sharp turns and dodging thwomps along the way, just like the one that started it all. The music takes on a synth rock interpretation of the world's main theme, and that electric guitar solo is just orgasmic. After prevailing one final challenge, you launch off the platform and hear that final lap fanfare one last time. With the entire world on full display, it finally sets in how far you've come. You glide down towards an absolute jaw-dropping section with anti-gravity in full effect. The train returns alongside the many friends you've met along the way. Robo DK waves goodbye as we reach Journey's End, and the main melody returns accompanied with trumpets and strings to usher in a triumphant finale. What an incredible fucking track. Just when you think you've seen the peak, it constantly one-ups itself time and time again. It lives up to the legacy of Rainbow Road, while also honoring those that came before it. From the marathon length and flying train of N64 Rainbow Road, to the space station reminiscent of 8's, it's all here. All the while adhering to the themes of Mario Kart World. And to top it all off, it has plenty of shortcuts to display your mastery. You can't get any better than that. Out of the entire track selection, this is the one that benefits from its intermission the most. Yeah, it's still fun without it, but it never hits the same without that ascension into the clouds. It proves when done right, intermissions can be just as impactful as the course it's leading up to. Unfortunately, their aforementioned Achilles heel is unavoidable. There are things to love about the intermissions, but even I have sympathized with its critics. 30% of these routes are either the straight lines people have repeated verbatim, or just boring to slog through. Like, who the hell enjoys any route to Desert Hills or Koopa Troopa Beach? Bottom barrel combination of boring routes and boring courses. And regardless of my stance on bagging, I don't think being rewarded for intentionally playing like shit would sit well with many people. All in all, I'm honestly saddened that people can't find enjoyment in these routes as much as I do. But I can understand why. The open road wasn't the slam dunk EPD9 envisioned. But in turn, they've found themselves a new mountain to climb and refined it to perfection once more. Add in an extra lap, maybe some alternate paths, and a few more obstacles, and we can have something great on our hands. Even then, unlike the 2017 Game of the Year winner and its sequel that pisses me off, whose developers have outright stated they have no plans to go back to traditional Zelda, that classic Mario Kart formula that we all know and love is here to stay, and is arguably better than ever. Mario Kart World is a game that proudly honors the series' legacy, while also attempting to inject new blood of its own. So even if I didn't like this new approach, I can just play the same way I've been playing for over a decade and still be satisfied. If only a certain company kept it this way. For a company that's as creative and innovative as Nintendo, they always seem to be behind the curve when it comes to online. Whether it be the late embrace of the internet during the Wii era, or the poor launch of Nintendo Switch Online. It's always been a pain point for Big Red. Furthermore, these shortcomings have proven disastrous for Mario Kart's latest entry. Mario Kart World does allow you the choice of either playing the classic 3-lap courses or the routes, but it's only for versus mode. So unless you love playing with bots or consistently have a group of buds for local gaming, you're taking your ass online. Worlds Online is about what you expect out of a Mario Kart Online experience. Similar UI, same 3-track voting system, the works. So what's the problem? Well, the intermissions are in the same pool as the classic 3-lap tracks, and pop quiz folks, 202 versus 30, which one has a higher likelihood of popping up? You could go hours without a 3-lap track appearing, and then you have to pray to the roulette gods that it gets picked instead of the same damn route you played like 20 minutes ago. At launch, the only consistent way you could get 3 laps was choosing random, as it would always guarantee a 3-lap track. It was practically a band-aid for a greater underlying problem, but for the first few weeks, the online was pretty enjoyable all around. It was during this period where I truly fell in love with everything this game had to offer. I saw so many routes I would have never interacted with prior, and I was having some classic Mario Kart fun, deepening my appreciation for the rhythmic beauty that is World's trick system. But this imperfect harmony did not last, as on June 25th, 2025, everything changed. Knowing how EPD9 responded to feedback during the Mario Kart 8 era, I expected an update to tackle and hopefully alleviate the crux of World's online woes. But I was in utter disbelief reading those patch notes. On June 25th, 2025, Nintendo would release version 1.1.2, where random was patched to also choose from the other 3 tracks that were selectable, which 90% of the time would always be intermissions. On one hand, they could have been clueless to the issues at hand and seen everyone using random as them abusing a clear exploit. But on the other, it's completely tone deaf. No matter how you slice it, one thing was for certain. This was not what the game needed. I have never seen an update go against a game's core philosophies more than this one. Now, Mario Kart's latest entry in over a decade has no accessible way to play the classic formula we've been playing since the Super Nintendo. Just marvelous. It could have been partially alleviated had tournaments made their return, but they just so happened to be mysteriously absent for whatever reason. To this day, I'm still puzzled on who this update was for. All this ended up doing was further fueling the fire on the heated intermissions versus 3-lap debate. A debate that honestly shouldn't even exist to begin with. As I previously illustrated, Mario Kart World proves that both racing types can coexist in harmony, seen throughout its offline offerings. I just wish this could have been applied to online as well. It wouldn't be hard either. Just make a separate mode or have a permanent 3-lap option among its connecting ones. 3 laps are already a voting option after all. Nintendo did end up releasing version 1.2.0 in July, upping the frequency of 3-lap tracks, and while you can feel the update's effectiveness when playing worldwide today, it still isn't enough. We shouldn't have to turn this game into a Discord fighter just so people can play the way they want to play. I like the intermissions, but I love the courses a whole lot more, and I should be able to play however I want, whenever I want. I hope we get one more update finally squashing this problem for good, alongside some much needed quality of life. Like seriously Nintendo, why are we still on the same infrastructure from 2014 with no improvements like being able to queue up worldwides or knockout tour with friends? What, you expect me to make a friend room with 23 other players just for knockout tour? I can't even get one friend to play with me, let alone 23. Come on, it's 2025. It should be at least the bare minimum. I know I've been harsh throughout this section, but features like these are crucial for World's longevity, and simply, I don't want this game's brimming potential to be squandered by an ill-sighted decision. Well, how about that? Alright, this video has been in production for months now, and Mario Kart World has received multiple updates since that time. Why did it take me so long? Well, editing's hard, okay, but anyways, let's get into the updates, starting with our most substantial one. In late September came version 1.3.0, and this update was really what the game needed. Remember those little more on this later graphics in earlier segments? Now it's later. This update added a tracker for P-Switch missions and Peach medallions, which is welcomed. Feels good to keep track of my little collectibles. UFOs spawn more often and you can acquire the NPC drivers via the UFO as well. It's definitely a band-aid solution, but hey, it gives them their incentive to play free roam. But now for the big one, the online changes. 3Laps had their rates increased dramatically compared to the tick that was version 1.2.0. They appear around 50% of the time in my experience, so even if you only get intermission options, there's a good chance that a 3-lap can appear next time. This has made Worldwides far more enjoyable, and it's the closest we've gotten to that imperfect harmony we had at launch. But sometimes you can just get unlucky and get no 3-laps for 5 to 6 races straight. I would still propose one more bump to their rates, or just have a guaranteed 3-lap option alongside the routes. Online is in a good spot compared to pre-1.3.0, but there's still room for improvement. They also added a waitlist for online rooms and attempted the ability to join knockout tours with your friends, but it didn't work out so well. And that leads us to the next update. Just in time for the holidays, version 1.4.0 dropped, and it's arguably just as substantial as 1.3.0. Custom items make the return from 8 Deluxe, allowing you to cause mayhem in whatever way you like. It makes getting the NPC drivers even easier now, so that's appreciated. We finally have the ability to queue up online with friends. It took them long enough, but I'm so glad it's here and it works without a hitch. Alongside these inclusions, we also get some unexpected intermission reworks. All routes to Koopa Troop Beach have been reworked to be more engaging, alongside giving an extra lap once you arrive at the course. These routes were always the biggest punching bag in regards to their quality, so I'm glad EPD9 went back in and touched up on these guys. Now if they could add an extra lap to every other route, that would be lovely, but only a man can dream. We can see the name of any jukebox track just from the pause menu, and the heavily requested volume slider. Yep, that is certainly a Nintendo solution to a Nintendo problem. Version 1.5.0 was on the lighter side, only adding the ability to play Knockout Tour in a team format. Neat addition, but nothing too crazy. Now we're at our final stop. At the end of March, after being leaked by Nintendo themselves just a few weeks prior, we got version 1.6.0, which included an addition to Battle Mode, Bob on Blast. I love me some Bob on Blast, so I'm glad it's here. Alongside that, we've got some item balancing, but this video is already long enough as is, so if you want to know specifics, there's plenty of videos out there that have the info you need. But overall, these updates have provided a massive boost to the health of the game. Granted, a lot of these shouldn't have been problems to begin with, but I'm glad EPD9 is making a valiant effort to make Mario Kart World the best game it can be. Discussion surrounding the Big N as of late has been tumultuous, to say the least. Ever since that switch to Direct, vocal disdain towards the company and its next generation system have been at an all-time high, with Mario Kart World caught right in the center. Now, a lot of that pushback is understandable, just from how aggressive Nintendo has been with their pricing strategies, and Mario Kart World being, well, Mario Kart World. But playing through it honestly reminded me why I love this franchise so much. Mario Kart has been a part of my life for as long as I've been cognizant. It was my introduction to modding because I saw YouTube videos about custom Mario Kart Wii tracks. I didn't even know what a homebrew channel was, nor did I really care. I just wanted to play some dope-ass Mario Kart tracks. My love for the series waned over the years as subsequent entries came around. I still enjoyed 7 and 8 immensely, but they never recaptured that passion felt during the Wii days. As for the Booster Course Pass, I tapped out after playing a few hours with friends every wave. Even the jingling Wii track keys couldn't keep me coming back. It was during this period where I started to wonder, what happened to the drive I once had for the series? Was it because I just simply grown out of Mario Kart? Or was I just tired of playing the same game for over 10 years? Guess World proved it to be the latter. From the moment I booted up this game, a spark lit inside of me. Roaming the open roads invoked a sense of joy and wonder I haven't felt since Mario Kart Wii, and I just couldn't put the controller down. Having a blast in Knockout Tour with friends, chilling in free roam, listening to the bomb-ass remixes of my favorite tracks, and messing around with the new movement were some of the most fun I've had with Mario Kart in a long time. Even after 3 months, this game still got me by the balls. Like I said, I've clocked over 200 hours on this game alone. It's sad to see World isn't resonating with people, and it's even more disheartening seeing any meaningful discussion being bombarded with animosity on both sides. The dichotomy between EPD9's ambition to push the series to the next level and the fanbase's conformity to the ways of old is fascinating. The devs have always referred to Mario Kart as a communication tool, and if our ways of communicating can evolve over time, why can't Mario Kart do the same? However, after seeing the cracks in World's approach, I can't blame anyone for preferring what works. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't know what to expect from the story franchise, and what I got resonated with me in ways I couldn't even fathom prior. Imperfections be damned. And while Twitter turns any meaningful discussion into a bloodbath, and video essays airing their grievances on Mario Kart World are a dime a dozen, I'm just here having a great time, watching the chaos from the sidelines, because no one can take away the love I feel for this game. Don't be afraid to love what you love. Don't have to be a silly kart racer. It could be anything, because that passion is yours and yours alone. Express that love however you like. It could be in discussion with a friend, an appreciation thread, or be a freak like me and make a movie-length passion project. Pick your poison. You can even be critical of the things you love, but never feel shame in it, no matter how many insults get hurled at you. Is this game perfect? No, not at all. But its open road and stylish, chaotic beauty spoke to me in a way I haven't felt about a game in a long time. There's always something to find in a game, even the messy ones. Despite it all, Mario Kart World is truly a game like no other. Thanks for watching. Thank you for making it till the very end. This video took much longer than I anticipated. No matter what, I always somehow underestimate the amount of work needed for these beasts. This video is a culmination of everything I've learned over the past year, and I hope that shines through the final product. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Big shout out to my pyrotechnic Ishtar and pyromaniac Calixer. I'm always grateful for your support, and it helps me make videos like these. If you want to support me further, consider becoming a member. I put a lot of time and hard work into these projects, and you'll be getting some dope perks in return for taking off some financial burden from me. The next suite of videos will be on the shorter side. Think around 30 to 40-ish minutes. They'll be on an assortment of topics that I'm passionate about. Once I'm recharged, I'll start working on the next big video, which is on a topic that I've been putting off for a very long time. But now it's time for the Q&A. What has been your favorite video from both your old and new eras of content creation? From my old era, probably the collection of Xenoblade 3 shitposts I made shortly after its release. That was when I was learning After Effects, and it was fun turning any idea I had into reality. As for my new era, yeah, it's probably this video. I love Xenoblade, but being able to express that same passion for other franchises I love is a dream come true. It's also the closest to the original vision I had for these videos since my Xenoblade 2 retrospective. Finally having my editing skill catch up to my vision has been so cathartic, and overall, making this video was really fun. Are there any other series you want to cover outside of Xenoblade for your channel? Well, you're watching one. But other series I would like to cover at some point are Zelda, Modica, Metroid, Trails, Doom, Pikmin, etc, etc. Don't worry, I've got plenty of topics to make videos about. This doesn't mean I'm dropping Xenoblade, but it will be in the rotation of things I want to talk about. How do you feel your editing and content creation has changed since starting your channel? And do you think you'll make even more improvements or edits to how you work? My edits have changed drastically since I've started taking this channel seriously again. Like any skill, I've gotten better and better at editing with every project. Every video I try to do something new and strive for a higher quality video than the previous one. A byproduct of this philosophy is that videos take longer to make, hence my numerous gaps. I want to close the gap between videos, hence why I'm making shorter videos in between the big projects. I love making videos, I love editing. I see them as art. Every frame is a canvas, begging to be filled by the creator's passion, using visual language to display said passion. Videos are the encapsulation of that passion. That's why no video is the same. Being able to learn new perspectives on the things you love is part of the beauty of art. Plugins have been a great investment for improving my workflow, and I'm going to continue investing in that to speed up the mundane aspects of the process. And that's it for questions. Once again, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you guys very soon.